There will always be conflict. Conflict occurs between two or more people who disagree on an issue that threatens their respective goals, values, and needs. The setting for this conflict resolution demonstration is a public school where a resource center is available for struggling students. The teachers at this school are passionate about their job, but because of this, teachers can let their personal opinion get in the way of working together and helping their students. There are 4 characters for this role play. The first, Miss Jones, who is a new teacher teaching in a regular education classroom. She believes her students should be treated fairly to keep test scores accurate. Because of this, she does not want any special treatment given to students who use the resource room. Ms. Jones believes in equal opportunity for all students, whether they are in a regular classroom or resource classroom. Ms. Jones is curious about how much help students are receiving in the resource room and the effect it has on test scores. Ms. Jones asked appropriate questions to the resource teacher, Mr. Taylor, about aiding tests and fairness among classrooms. Mr. Taylor, who is a veteran teacher who teaches in the resource center, he wants to make sure that students who enter the resource room receive the appropriate help they need in order to succeed. Mr. Taylor knows that students who enter the classroom have different needs from students in a regular education room. He wants to provide them with the assistance they need and should be receiving. However, Mr. Taylor has a tendency to jump to conclusion and become very defensive about his job as a special education teacher. This defensiveness can lead to tensions with other teachers in the school building. Ms. Horinga, who acts as a mediator between Ms. Jones and Mr. Taylor in this role play, does a great job at leaving her personal opinion out of the situation, as well as to take time to listen to both sides of the story. As a mediator, she suggests that all of them find someone who can help define the roles of a regular education teacher and the roles of a resource room teacher, and that person is the principal. The last character in this role play is our principal. He is the person who listens to and helps resolve issues at hand. He does this with a very calm and collective demeanor, rather than a harsh one. This helps all the teachers involved keep calm so they can figure out a solution to the problem. The principal is the person at the school that suggests that his school and his office is a place that they can work through any issues together, rather than create more. Good morning, Mr. Taylor. I emailed you last night about the test that we are having in class today. I was wondering if you were available to read the test to a couple of my students in order to meet their IEP needs.
I should be able to make that work. I would really appreciate being told a little further in advance so that I will be able to better prepare myself to assist the students with the test. Will it be possible to have a copy of the test with the correct answers marked so that I can better assist the students?
Oh, I'm not sure that's necessary. The only assistance that these students should need is to have the test read to them. I have noticed that my resource students who usually take the test with you, as well as other resource teachers, have grades that are above my class average. Do you help them with questions while they are taking the test?
I can't believe you would come forward and accuse me of cheating like that. Resource students need a little bit more help than other students with understanding the content and the way that the questions are worded. While we read to them, we also help them understand the questions. It is no more than you would do for the students taking the test in your room.
I suppose I just don't understand why you need the answers to the test in order to provide assistance. I I'm just trying to provide the same opportunities for all of the students who will take this test. I don't want any unfair advantages.
You will never see me walk into your classroom and tell you how to do your job. I would appreciate it if you would not do the same to me.
You would never have to, because I do my job fairly and effectively.
I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. Is there anything I can do to help you two understand each other better?
Miss Jones just can't wait to tell everyone how to do their jobs. She thinks that she is so much more morally superior to everybody. It is my job to help my resource students succeed. I know them and their needs much more than she does. If she could just leave me alone to do my job, everyone would be fine.
Could one of you start at the beginning and fill me in on what is going on?
Okay. Mr. Taylor often accommodates my resource students' IEPs by reading the test aloud for them. Only I am worried that they might be receiving an unfair advantage because Mr. Taylor always has the answer key with him while he's reading the test. I believe that Mr. Taylor does not need the answer key to effectively read the test questions to these students.
It seems that both of you are struggling to determine what your role is as a resource teacher and a regular education teacher. You will probably need to consult with someone about these roles so that both of you have a clear understanding of what your role is and the other person's role is. Why don't the three of us go down to the principal's office for some guidance?
Ms. Jones, Mr. Taylor, and Ms. Horinga, come on in and have a seat. What can I do for you today?
Mr. Principal, there seems to be a misunderstanding or miscommunication about what our roles are as teachers when it comes to assisting students with IEPs concerning tests.
I have been teaching and assisting resource students for years. I absolutely know how to work with these students and how to help them to succeed. But Miss Jones believes that she knows how to do my job better than me. In fact, she went so far as to accuse me of cheating.
I don't need to remind either of you that this is a time and a place for working through our issues, not create more. Let's take things one at a time and avoid name-calling and accusations.
I understand that Mr. Taylor is a more experienced teacher and that he's been doing this for a long time. And I do admit that I do not know what's going on in his classroom. All I can do is look at what I see. I understand. I see my students taking their test separately with Mr. Taylor, who's been given an answer key to the test. Then I see my students' scores consistently higher than my other students. This observation only led me to believe that the resource students are receiving an unfair advantage.
I believe that my students need more assistance than a regular classroom can provide. When completing the tests, my students can ask me questions not only about the content of the test, but also the instructions on the test. Because I have an answer key to guide my own thinking, I can accurately assist students with questions just as you do in your classroom. My students deserve the same opportunities as your students, the chance to ask questions from a teacher who is familiar with the test and the content.
I understand how both of you feel. Ms. Jones, you obviously want all of your students to have an equal chance at completing this test. And Mr. Taylor, you want to be as fair as possible while administering the IEPs. I can see that both of you really want what is best for the students. If we put that on the top of our priorities, we should be able to find a common solution.
I just want all of my resource students to have a chance at succeeding on this test according to their IEPs. This is why I approached Mr. Taylor in the first place for help. I also want my students to learn that working hard is what gives you good grades on tests, not working with a teacher.
I too want students to learn the value of hard work. During the test, I help students develop their own thinking by asking questions, but I never give them the content from the test.
either of you think of a solution that will make you both comfortable?
I would feel more comfortable giving Mr. Taylor a complete review guide rather than a test. A review guide will still have all the correct content, but not the specific questions. That way, Mr. Taylor will be able to answer questions and assist students.
As long as I have access to the content on the test, I can still help my students. I suppose that idea will be fine. I only got upset because it seemed as though you believed I was giving answers to students in an unethical way.
It was never anything personal about you because I use many of the same test questions from year to year. I don't like letting copies of my tests leave my classroom in any situation, especially one that is completed.
Thank you for working things out. I think that you have come up with a very reasonable compromise. Next time, before you get upset, try to remember that when students are our highest priorities, we can always find ways to work together for their benefit. Thank you, Ms. Horinga, for helping find our way to this solution.
During the resolution portion of this role play, a few important conflict resolution techniques were addressed. First, the principal pointed out that both Ms. Jones and Mr. Taylor had the students' best interests at heart, but neither teacher communicated this very well. Positive communication is definitely a key element in conflict resolution. Another helpful technique during conflict resolution is to include a neutral third party if necessary. It is best if a conflict can be resolved between the two disagreeing parties, but sometimes there needs to be a mediator who is emotionally uninvolved to help settle the dispute. The key mediators in the role play are Mrs. Horinga, who listens to the conflict and suggests involving another mediator, the principal. The principal ultimately helps the two teachers in conflict reach a compromise by listening to both arguments and helping them find appropriate solutions. As Christians, conflict resolution is crucial. The goal of conflict resolution is unity, and unity in the church poses a threat to the devil, who will use every opportunity to take advantage of unresolved issues, especially those involving anger, bitterness, self-pity, and envy. These emotions are the basis for most conflicts. The scripture tells us that we are to let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from us, along with all malice in Ephesians 4:31. There are many places in the New Testament that commands believers to live in peace, such as Romans 15:5, when it commands us to live in peace and harmony with one another in according with Jesus Christ. If we are to live in peace with God, we must live in peace with others. We cannot know peace with God unless we are at peace with one another, and cannot truly know the peace with others unless we are at peace with God. They are one and the same. Overall, every workplace, including school, is going to encounter various kinds of conflicts no matter what. But it is important to know how to handle these situations when they arise. Teachers and other staff members who are more prepared to deal with conflict through various techniques and strategies will have an easier time finding a solution. The role play demonstrated how the school principal was prepared to handle conflict among other staff members by his calm demeanor, his focus on the issue, whether than personal opinion, his ability to listen. All of these techniques help the principal guide Ms. Jones and Mr. Taylor to reach a compromise and resolve the conflict. Every teacher should know some conflict resolution techniques because conflict can appear anywhere, and it helps to be prepared in order